Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a new online event within the EMS Webinar series. Today, we present a topic which has recently emerged in most areas of activity. We are referring to AI, artificial intelligence. Today, and about this topic, our invited speakers will present and describe the so-called askWMO tool to support trustworthy communication and also help to fight mis and disinformation on topics related with weather, climate and water. Before introducing our speakers today, let me recall some practical hints. This webinar is being recorded and will be published later on the EMS YouTube channel. Please use the chat function during and after the presentation to write your questions, which will be answered only at the end of the presentation. Vesna Juricic will organize, read, and if needed, group the questions on the chat. Finally, please send your suggestions and proposals of new topics or speakers to us, whatever topic you consider could be of interest, good fit surely in this format. And now let me introduce our speakers today. Brigitte Perrin, Head of Communication at the World Meteorological Organization. She's journalist by training and political scientist by background. She's also specialist in the digital transformation of research and academic teaching, having worked for several years at the University of Geneva. She has also worked as journalist at the Swiss National Broadcasting Corporation. The other speaker is Aryo Said Baghefi. He's a natural language processing engineer at the University of Zurich, and he's also affiliated researcher at the Oxford Sustainable Finance Group, and currently he is working as consultant on AI and climate with WMO. Well, please go ahead, both speakers, with your talk, which is titled Ask WMO. AI can help make weather, climate, and water information more accessible. Please go ahead.
So just a few words on my side to say a good afternoon, everyone. And I'm very happy that WMO is invited to this webinar to explain to you what are our research and what kind of problems we are trying to solve with artificial intelligence. As Ernesto mentioned, I'm the Chief of Communication for WMO, and as such, I'm really interested in how the artificial intelligence can help and support our communication effort to make weather, climate, and water information more accessible for all. But I'm not the expert, and I'm not the artist in this room, and this is really my colleague Said, who will be explaining to you what this tool is about, and then I will come later on to explain how what are the opportunities in the future for communication. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting us. I'll share my screen, and I'll start also going through the presentation. I may just ask when the presentation is shared to make sure that everyone now see the presentation in the presenter mode. Please let me know if
it's okay.
okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so as mentioned, it's about the askWMO pilot project, or a project to better support our members, in particular with the help of generative AI, which in particular I will talk about that in a second. So let's say the problem and the main task of this tool is to basically see what are the current situation and the problem that is existing with a lot of documents and a lot of information that are available through different sources at WMO Secretariat, and in particular, for instance, library, different sources of report and publications. But it's technically and logistically difficult to navigate through all these documents. There are many overlaps sometimes, and there are difficulties to retrieve proper information as someone in a proper amount of time. So today, the askWMO idea is to serve our members and to empower them to better navigate through this document, basically to better search for a specific topic and find the answers. It is also to improve the communication between WMO Secretariat and members, to better engage with our members, to basically demonstrate what is the current status of the publications that has been developed, so they can also navigate through this information. From the technical side, it's also possible for our members to better trace the resolution and the decisions that have been taken in place over the course of past or in Congress meetings or executive councils, or if there is any specific guidelines about a topic, they can also navigate through that. And hopefully, as mentioned by Brigitte, in the future, we will open it to the public for basically navigating and communicating with the public more officially. At the moment, it's at its pilot phase, so we are testing this, we're adding some features to that. So it's kind of like a disclaimer that I wanted to mention at this stage. So before going through the presentation, just to make sure that we are all on the same page, I have this terminology slide that basically through my slides, you will hear a lot. I'm talking about the language models and chatbot with RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. To better get a grasp of what is happening, a language model basically is an AI system that has been trained to understand human language and also to generate basically a sequence of a word and sentence as much as close to the human by predicting the next word in the sentence, which this enables these models, the language models, to be core for many tools that we are now hearing a lot in our daily life, like chatbots or different tools that you're using. So basically, they can now answer the question, they can summarize information, and also now we can see, we hear that they are also capable of doing reasoning. So over the time, they're getting better and better. And now what I want to also mention is a chatbot, which is basically another layer over the language model. And now here we have also a chatbot with retrieve augmented generation capability, which means that a language model and the layer of that, the chatbot, can also connect to the external knowledge. For instance, here in our case, in askWMO, to the WMO publication, extract information and generate answers and text based on the external information that has not been in their training phase. Basically, these are terminologies that you will hear a lot. And basically, the main mission of askWMO we defined as to better organize the relevant information and make it accessible to the members. As mentioned, it would be much easier with the help of generative AI and conversational AI to navigate through all this document and to save time and better extract information, also finding the proper references to that information that has been extracted. So it is important to have this in mind, that question and answer system should also be grounded on the document and also should be able to basically provide proper references. That's what askWMO mission is about. I have this slide because now we talked about the language model. We talk also about the generative AI and chat bot applications. So here you have a stairway that shows the difficulty and complexity of the tags in there of generative AI that we are basically having. So on the very low level, you see that we have language models. And on the very top, you see that we have AI agents. And the more we go to the up, the difficulty is getting more complex. So basically, we start from a language model that can generate a sentence. If you ask a question or if you provide a text, it provides the next level or the next sentence, the next word. And then we have the understanding of the context. That means that a language model should be able to understand that what is the context of that question, what is the tone of that question, and then it goes up. So the language models now can also be creative and novelty. So if you give them an idea, they can also generate some solutions based on these models that they have been tried on. That's why we see many applications coming every day that are based on the generative AI and language models. And now we also in the era of the AI agents. That means that these are the agentic AI assistant that can, to some extent, replicate a task that a human is doing. So in WMO, we have different pilot projects. For instance, we have askWMO that is more in the level of generative AI application. We also have other applications that it's beyond the scope of today, but it's at the level of AI agents. So at the Secretariat, we are exploring a lot of different pilot projects to better provide services to our members. So this is an important slide to give an overview of how the complexity could raise when we go from one level to the other. And that also bring me to this point to mention that going from one level to the next level not only add the complexity, but also make it more difficult to make more accurate answers. That's also or a solution or that is accurate. So it's very important to have this in mind. Now, in June 2024, we launched the askWMO pilot web application. It is grounded on 350 publication of WMO, but to have some idea about the number of the publication, WMO has more than 11,000 publication that is being stored at the moment, many more, but 11,000 has been indexed at the eLibrary and in online library of WMO library, and this askWMO just cover 350. So this kind of like a disclaimer and also telling that it doesn't cover all the spectrum of the knowledge that has been produced over the last decades. So the tool is very simple, like many of the chatbots. One can select all the resources, basically can specify like which sources from the library should be activated to answer the question, like guidelines, that like a strategic plan, or the user can select all the document and see what would be the answer coming from these in sources. And it's like many of the chatbots, you can test it, you can try it. It's chatwmo.app. You write a question, you wait for a few seconds to go through all the documents, find the proper answer, and bring it back. Now, to give a little bit of the context of how it is working on the behind the scene, it is grounded on a scientific state of the art. We were able to publish this in late 2023. The approach in Nature portfolio publications, and basically when the system work as mentioned earlier, providing external knowledge to the database of this language model, additional information and additional database. And when a user asks a question, basically it looks through a semantic search and vector similarity search to find the proper answer. It is also very important to mention that we are constantly working to improve the quality of the answers through fact-checking and through evaluation of the answers. That's also another research and topic that we are actively working on that at the Secretariat. And with that being said, I would like to, for instance, here in this slide, demonstrate what would be a kind of like a result or an answer of a system to a question that might come from a member. So here you see a member inquiring about the hydraulical station for a dam. So they can write the number of the WMO publication on the very top and just specifically ask from that question, that document as well. And or they can select all the documents. So here you see from the WMO publication number 49, the answers has come back, and then there is a proper referencing to that. They can go to these pages and then they can check it. I leave the demonstration basically for later if the time allowed me, but you can also, while I'm presenting, you can ask questions. It's basically available through the link. Now here you can see another type of question that might be asked through the system. So here you see that executive management are asking about different resolution and different sources that has been that is about, for instance, one of the flagship program at WMO, which is Greenhouse Gas Watch. So they are looking for different resolution, and they want to see like in which category of documents in INFCOM or CERCOM or other sources, what are the resolution that has talked about or has mentioned this activity. This also helped to basically for the users, and in particular this scenario, executive management, to synthesize some information and to be prepared about like all the resolution for the next meeting or next communication session that they have. To also demonstrate the capability of this system, we also connected this to some selected LinkedIn post of WMO. This was basically to January 2025. It was an internal presentation that we wanted to show that also the system can be connected to the social media. So end user can also see like what is happening at the WMO in more general, basically sort of communication style. Now, that being said, I would like also to highlight that over the time we improved the system. So now colleagues can also share a session or a chat or a question that they ask, and basically they can cross-check the references together, or if there is any let's say activity around that someone or a team of colleagues are working on, that they can share different possibility or different communication that they had through the system to better prepare as a team. So this was what has been done so far and what should be done next. So we would like to expand the knowledge database. As I mentioned, 350 documents should be at least go up to 1,000 to cover most of the important documents. We also should improve the pipeline of the system and also better integration to the website and LinkedIn. Now, with that being said, I would like to pass the floor to Brigitte for going through the opportunities for communication. Brigitte, please go ahead, and you can just tell me when to go to the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Said. Yeah, I know it was a lot to take on. The AI solutions are always a bit complex, even if we are enjoying the way they are simplifying our lives. But it is really important, I want to say that to make sure whenever we are using AI, in any case, that the AI we are using is grounded in research and the state-of-the-art type of AI. AI will not replace communication. AI will not be the next media. AI is just a tool where we can grab information, and then we need to do something with this information. Can you go to the next slides, Said? Yeah, so for WMO, and this is a slide I presented at the EMS last September, we need to understand where we are in an organization like WMO, and I think in all NMHSs, we are sharing the same concern. The World Economic Forum is releasing every year a global risk report. And both the 2024 one and the 2025 one are showing the two major risks identified by, it's a survey where thousands of people are bringing their inputs, the two major threats to the world and the economic world is the first one, misinformation and disinformation, and the second one, extreme weather events. What does it mean? It means that we cannot, as communication people working for NMHSs, Med Services, or for an international organization like WMO, we need to take into account these two elements, right? A growing disinformation and a growing amount of extreme weather events, and both of them are filling up the communication channels. So it's more and more difficult to get a sense of what is real and what is really happening, how serious the information is, how serious the events are, and what are the responses to this information. So this is where we see also a potential development and opportunity for artificial intelligence. We all know that bots are inundating the social media with disinformation, with conspirational theories and anti-climate, like anti-climate messages, etc. But it can also be used in a positive way. And you can go to the next slide. So to show you what is the real danger of using AI to get your information, we tried it on with a simple ChatGPT prompt asking, are we expecting more floods in South America in the future? And of course, ChatGPT will provide you with an answer that sounds absolutely perfect, right? Yes, of course, more floods are expected. Many countries are taking steps to mitigate these risks. Looking at it, as you can see it on the screen, it looks perfect. And if I were a journalist reporting on the floods in South America, I would simply copy-paste this and inform the public about the answer, which is yes, more floods in South America, and these are the different elements we can present. It looks perfectly correct and good. However, when you ask ChatGPT, what are your sources to say this? Then, of course, you have the IPCC reports that are coming up first. They are already integrated in the ChatGPT training. We don't know if all of them are there because we didn't build the ChatGPT, but we can also see environmental research. This can be any research, including petrol companies' research. It's an environmental research, right? Government and NGO reports, again, it can be any kind of reports, and the ChatGPT will not be looking at the accuracy or the scientific accuracy of whatever is in these reports. Some reports are done in a state-of-the-art manner, and some others can be done without any real scientific grounding. We have no way to know which one of them ChatGPT has selected. And finally, the news articles. And here again, it's media, right? And you have all sorts of media. You have plenty of very well-informed journalists who are doing a very serious research before writing the articles, but some of them either don't have time or they may rely on ChatGPT again to write the articles. So what is fed into a generative AI tool like ChatGPT doesn't give you any guarantee of the source and the grounding of the information you are looking at. So if we ask the same question, next slide, to the ChatWMO, you will see that the answer will be much longer. I mean, a bit longer, not much longer, but a bit more detailed. It's true that the vocabulary will be a little bit more technical, but again, the ChatWMO, the askWMO tool is built in a way that doesn't include all large language models so far, because it's only a pilot. But it will give you, for each of the sentences that you can read here, it gives you the references of the different reports of with a URL. And if you want to know more, or if you want to get some figures or to get some images about these reports, some graphs to show to your audience, then you can find the source and you can refer to the source. So this is the whole thing about for me, the askWMO product. It was built primarily to help our members find their way into our very complex set of documentation. As Said mentioned, we have only at the moment almost 400 documents in the askWMO tool. We should enlarge it to 1,000 or 2,000 documents to make it a bit more robust, but it's definitely a way to use the information provided and published by WMO and ask questions about it and find the right references. So when I first met Said and he told me about this project, I immediately saw a huge opportunity for communication. In the first place, it's going to be you, the members of WMO, who may have to be using it to do your communication about your own activities and your own for your own audiences. But then it could be potentially later on, if we publish it as an official tool with the disclaimers that are needed, it can have journalists also find their way into our content, our publications, our reports, and our data. Last year, I was part of a panel discussion at the AI for Good meeting in Geneva. And we had a panel for the journalists who were explaining how in Africa journalists are relying on artificial intelligence to do their work. So I was really impressed, and I was telling them, but listen, why the hell are you relying on artificial intelligence to do your work? And they were explaining to me, we don't want to do it, but as we are, as our resources are shrinking, our editors-in-chief are just asking us to write a report in like 3 or 4 articles a day. And we don't have time anymore to do research and to reach out to you to ask you a question, waiting for your answer and back. And so we are, as much as possible, not relying on artificial intelligence. But the problem is that if we are not delivering our article in time, our editor-in-chief himself will be using AI to replace us. So we are here facing a situation where the journalists, I'm talking about African journalists, but I know that it's the same in many parts of the world, they have shrinking resources to do research. And hence, we cannot anymore guarantee that even if we do a great job writing press releases, informing them and so on, they may not have the time to dig into our data, our publications, to do their job properly. So I'm not saying these tools should replace journalism, and they should not, but they should ease the research of information to allow the journalists. It was in Tunisia, I think, the journalist who was telling me about this story. In Tunisia, they may experience floods. So instead of having to focus on what is a flood and how did flood impact Northern Africa in the past 5 years, the journalist will have the opportunity to get out of his office and maybe go and talk to a fisherman or to a farmer to ask him how he was impacted by these floods. And all the background information about the floods, about the recent evolution of floods in Northern Africa and so on, this information can be found in a trusted place, hosted in a trusted organization that is fed with the information provided by its members, who are trusted entities at the national level as well. So this is to say that we're still talking about the future, and even inside WMO, not everyone is ready to think about askWMO as being a communication tool, but I wanted to share with you this opportunity. And maybe to finish with a last slide, the opportunity is also to connect this LLM tool with the AI for weather prediction. And you can see this moving image here. It sounds like a very simple image, but in the future, if we connect the real-time data, satellite data, temperature data, any kind of meteorological data, if we connect it directly to a tool that informs people in real time about what is happening, again, our journalists in Tunisia will not have to rely on untrusted sources, but he will also be able to write an article and to show some satellite images, to share real-time figures about real-time records that he could not find in the different data sets that are made available here and there, but he needs to collect. So in the future, and we have discussions going on with ECMWF and EUMETSAT and many other data partners, as we are working at WMO as a unified data data policy, we also need to think about how to make this data available to the people who need it the most, and connecting it with AI tools to inform people is definitely a way forward. So maybe in 10 years from now, we'll just be laughing by watching this recording, saying, hey, of course, everything is there. And now we can access the situation of floods in Tunisia in real time, see satellites, images of it, and we won't need so much to chase the information and chase the source of information anymore. So that's it, and I'm really open to any discussion, and I would appreciate any feedback about also these opportunities for development that we are thinking about as being a dream in our case. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, both, for this very relevant and illuminating talk. And now let's move to the questions. Please, this message is to the audience. Write your questions on the chat function. Vesna, please, could you read them from the chat?
Yes, there is one actually from you. So far, the documents feeding the askWMO tool are only a small part of WMO own documents. Do you plan to expand this database with other documents from other international initiatives and or National Meteorological Services reports as, for example, IPCC?
If I may answer, Brigitte, thank you. It's an important and very relevant question. Indeed, yes, we do have a plan to expand the knowledge database, also including more documents from library. At the moment, it's only a few documents. Also, at the very beginning, we had some sources in place like IPCC. However, since it was meant to only serve to the members with respect to the publications that are being produced at the Secretariat, so we restricted that to the library documents. However, in future, if there was any opportunity or if there was any decision on that, we would also be ready to include that. From the technical perspective, it's easy to implement. It's already available, but from the policy side and from the decision-making point of view, I think it needs a little bit of adjustment and decisions coming ahead. But this is, again, from the technical perspective. Brigitte, if you want to add.
Yes, if I may add, definitely, as Said mentioned, I think it's a political decision to connect these databases. In the first place, I think we should focus on developing this tool as a real product for WMO, and we are looking into different ways of funding this project until it is usable, fully usable and reliable for WMO. Now, something I would like to mention as well, and it goes hand in hand with the development of this tool as a communication support. The WMO has recently joined the Global Initiative for Information Integrity on Climate, which was launched by the government of Brazil, UNESCO, UNFCCC, and we are part of it with some other organizations as well. This information integrity on climate aims at fighting disinformation and making sure that the relevant and the accurate information makes its way to whoever needs climate information. And in that regard, this tool is a stepping stone into building trusted authoritative tools that can be used by anyone who is looking for the accurate and authoritative information. So in a very in a knowledge point of view, yes, we should add as many reports as possible, as long as these reports are labeled being authoritative in your different countries. We are using your data anyway to feed into our reports. So there is nothing against the idea of bringing together national reports. And the same applies to reports from other UN agencies who are also trusted voices on the different aspects of climate. So technically speaking, as Said mentioned, there is nothing against this idea. And as he showed in the demonstration, and you can test it yourself, you will see that you can select the sources from which you want to get the result. And of course, if we have, I don't know, 10 different NMHSs that have their content, their authoritative content in there, we can definitely select which sources we want to look into. But definitely this is a further development, and there is no reason not to do it. For IPCC in particular, I think, Said, you built an initial tool before the askWMO that was based on the IPCC reports, and the IPCC process itself is a little bit tricky to ask questions with an IPCC basis, because obviously whatever fits in the IPCC reports is the result of decision making, of consultations, of negotiations, and so on. So it's not raw data, or it's not. It is conclusions data. So it may be a little bit less, even if the answers are great, it may be a little bit less relevant for IPCC to join such an initiative, because they are doing the work of summarizing all these data and giving conclusions about this data to predict what is coming up in the future. So they are a little bit less enthusiastic about such tools, because they don't really see how it can help spreading the information about IPCC, because their reports are the basis on which we can make decisions at the political level. I hope I answered the question about IPCC. It's not an easy one.
Yeah, to go a little bit further, Francisco Montenegro asked, do you have feedback about the app from users not so familiar with the project development? Are they satisfied with the feedback the tool provides?
We internally collect, as mentioned, it meant to be used by our members and also colleagues at the Secretariat. So from colleagues at Secretariat, we collect feedback by basically bilateral. So we don't have an external official users in a sense to be able to collect feedback from them, but from the colleagues who are using this at the Secretariat, and also from some members, we have collected and also we monitor the questions that are being asked and the answers. So we also, on the back stage of the app, we cross-check the references that questions are providing, the system are provided to the questions. So we make sure that the answers are grounded on truth. And internally at the Secretariat, we also talk with colleagues and see their feedbacks in different departments, for instance, Department of Infrastructure Services, and also Science and Innovation, or other colleagues that basically are using this. So it's a close community at the Secretariat that are using this and providing the feedback, because it's meant to be used by them as it is at this pilot phase project. Although the tool is up and running and basically everyone can use it, and we also suggest that you try it, but it's not yet publicly available in a sense that it covers all the necessary documents, so it needs further development and expansion. I hope I answered that, but please feel free also, Brigitte, to if I missed something or if I didn't cover all the necessary point.
Yes, maybe if I can maybe comment on the question, Ernesto, you mentioned here, is this tool mainly thought for communication and for professional of communication? Of course, it would be great, and that's my ultimate objective, is to make such a tool available for media, and why not for the public and for NMHs as communicators, because this is a good way to showcase our information and to make sure people get the responses to the questions they have. But at the moment, this has not been implemented in a way where we can say, okay, now we can publish it. First of all, the tool is still in a pilot mode, which means that, as Said mentioned, it is lacking a lot of key documents because it was not really developed further. We kept it updated to make sure that it was following the very rapid development of AI. But in terms of how many documents are there and how many how many publications, how many web pages or LinkedIn accounts it's looking into, it is still very basic, and this is waiting for a green light to further develop it and waiting for proper funding to be able to develop it further. So yes, ideally, this tool, in my opinion, should be used by communication professionals as well. If it is developed in the year to come, it will be mainly in the first place to help our members retrieve the information they need whenever they attend WMO meetings or our governing bodies and so on. And this will be a good way to test it and to make sure that the responses are matching the needs. And further down the road, we would definitely like to have it as a communication tool. But, and this is the reason I'm sitting in this meeting, it goes hand in hand with proper communication about what is AI, what are the risks for AI, and there are several questions that were raised at the EMS meeting as well, like, but can we really afford, as being the authoritative experts and scientists, can we afford having a tool that may at some point provide a wrong answer? What about the reputation of our institutions, be it WMO, but also you as meteorological services? What if one time the tool provides a wrong answer? So there is a whole educational educational movement to happen in the organizations to explain that AI is just another platform. AI is not meant to be 100% accurate, just like if my colleagues in communication write an article, they may do a mistake, right? And they may at some point say something wrong. As much as we can, we try not to disclose any wrong information, but this can happen. And I think the level of confidence of AI is slightly higher than the level of confidence of a human being. You can maybe develop on that side, but I think this is one of educating our staff, our members, the people who are building the tool and providing the tool, educating them about what is accurate, what is not accurate, what are the real risks of using AI. This is needed before we can publicly make such tools available. And the second thing is also, and I would love to hear Said about that if we have time, but it is about this question of energy consumption, that some of our colleagues come to us and say, well, we are WMO. We cannot afford building tools that are consuming a lot of CO2 and at the same time encouraging people to reduce emissions. So education of people on AI to make it clear what it is for, and like managing the change of mentalities in the organizations is one thing, and the other thing about the energy consumption, and also spreading the word about is it true or not? And I will give the floor to Said about that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't know if there is more question.
If you may, okay. I wanted to ask Said to explain both about the accuracy level of the responses we can expect from AI and about the energy consumption
Thank you. Yes, about the accuracy, I would say that so basically, maybe I start with the energy consumption. So we are not retraining these models. We are providing external access to the sources to the model. So trying to minimize the energy. Basically, it doesn't consume that much of energy because it's at the inference step of this reasoning model and language model. So the basically, it consumes not that much energy, but to be very specific, we will have like a publication on that, so we can also at some point distribute that. About the accuracy as well, it's also very important, and we are constantly working on that, on to evaluate our the responses of the model, so to make sure that the accuracy is improving also over the time, not only because the models are improving, but also like the training or the fine-tuning of the system that we are working on, that is getting better and better. So but still it's also very important that as an authoritative sources of providing information, like WMO should be very cautious about like providing information that might also imply some information that are not 100% correct. That's why we might like have some measurements here to be and test set to before we publicly release that. And stage is yours, I guess, Ernesto. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for these comments on the energy, the consumed energy, and on the accuracy of the response. Well, before closing this webinar, let me thank to all participants for their attendance, and a special thanks to our invited speakers. I know you are very busy, especially during these weeks, and therefore I thank you especially for dedicating some time to participate in our webinars. Let me also recall you that our next webinar is scheduled for the 2nd of July. And it will be, in this occasion, a panel discussion mainly addressed to early career scientists. The theme will be how do I prepare the EMS annual meeting conference? This is a question. Okay, thank you all, and see you in our next EMS webinar. Thank you. Bye.